I've tested out a good number of Android tablets, and the Samsung Galaxy line is by far my favorite. Today, I'm doing a rundown of what's out there and what's going to give you the best bang for your buck. Hello, my name is Brad. I review tech for creative professionals, and Samsung likes to release a lot of products that cover pretty much every price point. So if you want a phone, you figure out what you want to spend, and Samsung says, we have a phone for that. It can be a little confusing if you go to their website and see so many products, but it's also a pretty handy way to know what you're going to get for what you're spending. To a lesser extent, they do this with their tablet line too. The Galaxy Tabs I have used and tested are the ones that come with pens, specifically the S Pen, and I will be mentioning some of the others, but really my focus here today is on art and design and that side of things, so that's really where I'm going to be focusing. Something important to know is if a Samsung tablet doesn't come with an S Pen, it will not work with an S Pen. That's because the S Pens use Wacom's technology, which needs sensors underneath the screen in order to pick up that pen input. If those sensors aren't there, the pen's not going to work. So right now, there's 4 Galaxy Tabs, let's say 4.5 Galaxy Tabs out there that I think are worth checking out. The top of the line is the Galaxy Tab S7 and the S7 Plus. This is half that tab I was talking about because they are very, very similar. After that, you have the Tab S6, which is last year's model, but it's still really good in many ways. Harder to find, but cheaper than the S7. Then below that, you have the Tab S6 Lite, a really good budget tablet. And at the very bottom, we have the Tab A 8-inch with S Pen. This is one of last year's models as well, but you could still find it in some places. So let's start by looking at the Tab S7. Every time I go back to the Tab S7 Plus and I hold it in my hands, turn on that screen, I'm just blown away by how beautiful it is. That screen, that form factor. I've used iPad Pros, I've used the new iPad Air, and those are very, very nice, but there's something about the colors on the screen that are just punchy. And when you put it side by side next to an iPad, I just prefer this display. It is a Super AMOLED display running at 120 Hz. On top of that, it's a 12.4-inch screen, which is the biggest Android tablet I have ever seen, and I don't know of any that are much larger. Nobody needs a screen this great, but if you have one, every time you turn it on, you're gonna say, wow, that looks really nice. Now the screen on the S7, the non-plus version, is different. It is still 120 Hz, which is really great to have when we're talking about drawing in the pen, but it is not a Super AMOLED display. It's an LTPS LCD. I haven't seen it, I haven't used it. Samsung does make some really nice screens, even if they're not the Super AMOLED screens though. So I can't guarantee that you're gonna have that same wow factor after seeing that screen if you don't opt for the Plus version of this tablet. But other than the display and the size of the tablet itself, the internals are exactly the same. And under the hood, these are pretty impressive. They both are rocking the Snapdragon 865 processor. Storage starts at 128 gigabytes, but you can expand that up either by buying a higher end model or using the micro SD card slot along the side. The camera array along the back is, well, it's kind of overkill for a tablet, but if you're into that kind of thing, it's nice to have. And the aluminum frame and build feels great to hold in your hands. There is a place along the back for the S Pen. It magnetically connects and charges up here. It also connects along the side. Those magnets aren't quite as strong. It will fall off if you're carrying it around like that, but for just storing while it's sitting on your desk or something like that, it does work that way. The Tab S7 Plus might be my device of the year. I don't see anything coming out in the next few weeks that's really going to change my opinion on that. Of course, I'll be making a video on my whole rundown of those devices, so subscribe if you want to check that out. So if you watched my iPad Air review a few weeks back, I said, hey, the 120 Hz screen is kind of overrated. It has very little effect on the drawing experience, but that's on the iPad. Here on Android, totally different story. iPad software, especially Procreate, which is what I do a lot of my testing in, is extremely well optimized for the iPad, so you don't get a lot of pen lag there. Android apps, you know, that's a little bit different. You get a fair amount of lag on Android apps, so when you add in that 120 Hz refresh rate, you're getting a dramatic improvement in how the pen performs. And so even though on the iPad I said, it's not that big a deal, I think here, It's a big deal. That refresh rate is great. So is there anything at all wrong with this tablet? No, I have no idea what Samsung's going to do next year to make this better, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously they'll probably add a newer processor, your kind of standard spec bumps, but I think this is the best Android tablet, hands down, I've ever used. I guess if I was going to say one thing, I haven't been nearly as impressed with the keyboard cover. You know, that's not as important to me though. It's the trackpad on that thing. It's sluggish, it's not responsive. I just didn't really care for using it that much. No matter which one of the devices I'm talking about here today that you're interested in getting, or if you're getting an Android phone, iPad, iPhone, even a PC, you should check out today's sponsor, Dashlane. When you get a new device, you have to go into every app and enter your username and your password and your personal information over and over. It's hard to keep track of all that stuff, and that's where Dashlane comes in. It makes it easier to manage everything. It will autofill your personal information like addresses, credit cards, passwords. It makes online checkouts a breeze. They even have a VPN built right into the app, so you're not going to be tracked while you're browsing the internet. And you can access your content from any country. Can't think of a new password? Have Dashlane generate a super secure password for you. All the passwords that you store with them are encrypted, making their password manager the safest place to store your information.
To get Dashlane for free on your first device, head to dashlane.com/Brad. And when you want to upgrade to premium, don't forget to use my code BRAD.
The Tab S6 is still listed on Samsung's website for sale. It also comes with the S Pen. It's really great to draw on. It's a really solid Android tablet, and it was the top of the line tablet last year. So this year, it still performs very well. Storage starts at 128 gigabytes, but unlike the S7, it's only available in the 10.5-inch form factor. The screen here is nice. Well, it's a Super AMOLED display, just like the new S7 Plus is, but it's lacking the same visual punch. I don't know what it is, if it's the high dynamic range or what they did to this year's model, but I could definitely tell the difference between the two. Still looks good, but not as good as that S7 Plus screen. It's also not going to have that higher 120 hertz refresh rate. But when we're talking about drawing, that refresh rate really does help improve performance from this to that higher end S7. So for me, this tablet falls into that no man's land, right? It's still fairly expensive, and I'm thinking, hey, if you're gonna spend that much, maybe spend a little bit more and get the Tab S7 or wait until it goes on sale, just because it's gonna give you so much better of a drawing experience and it just feels like a better device. Because if really what you're trying to do is just spend less money and you just don't have the budget for the S7, that's where our next tablet comes in, the Tab S6 Lite. This tablet at this price is a great value. Now this tablet is listed at $350, but before I came on to do this video, I looked. It is currently selling for $250. That is $100 less than what it started at. That is a really good deal. So let me break this down in terms of drawing tech. What can you expect to get for $250? Well, if you want to get a Wacom, you can get an Intuos tablet. That doesn't even have a display on it. Then there are things like the Huion 13 Pro, the XP Pen Artist 13. Those fall into that price category. Those are small monitors that need to be plugged into a computer in order to use them as drawing tablets. They're a heck of a lot heavier. They're a heck of a lot bulkier. You have a power cord. You have an HDMI cable. You have your USB plug-in. You have all of that stuff. They're not portable, whereas an Android tablet, the Tab S6 Lite, is a full-blown computer. It's portable. You could take it anywhere. Honestly, I think the drawing experience is a little better. And when it comes down to the quality of displays, screens, Samsung is kind of hard to beat. And in this case, Samsung's worst screen is better than many other of their competitors' best screens. I often say in my videos that the entry-level iPad is the best value in drawing tech, and I can make a pretty good case for why the iPad is better than an Android tablet. Personally, I do prefer the iPad because I feel that the app ecosystem is so much more robust. However, not a lot of people want to use Apple products, so I can totally understand if you want to go with Android. And these tablets have gotten to the point where I feel like the drawing apps are good enough where you can get by and do a lot of great things. But now we're talking about $250 for the Tab S6 Lite. I still can't get over that price because if you're talking about an iPad, one, it's going to be $80 more to jump up to $329 for that entry-level iPad, plus another $100 on top of that for an Apple Pencil. We're talking about a $180 difference. That's crazy. I might have to rethink like what I think the best value in drawing tech is, because right now it is a tough call. Now, I should point out, this is a step down in every way from the S7 and S7 Plus. The processor, it's an Exynos 9611. That's a step down. The amount of storage you get, 32 gigabytes, that's a step down. The camera quality, a step down. Screen quality, it's a step down. The speakers on this thing, those are a step down. But at this price, it's not like you're falling off the quality cliff here. You're just taking a step down away from what the S7 gives you. This is still a very capable drawing tablet and is honestly kind of fun to use. I used Clip Studio on this when it first came out. That is a really, really robust, fully featured desktop app, and it runs really well on Android. That's impressive. With that, you could make a book on this cheap little Android tablet. You could draw an entire comic book on an Android tablet for $250. Okay, I gotta stop with the price now. It's just kind of blowing my mind. Just thinking about like, hey, 6 or 7 years ago, it cost $1,000 to get any drawing tablet, and now what you get for this price, it's wild. What a time to be alive. So we got to talk about the last one. We're talking about the Tab A 8.0 with S Pen. Now this one is a bit older and the specs show it. It's an Exynos 7885 processor, starts with only 32 gigabytes of storage, and they cut some corners on things like the camera and the materials that it's actually made of to keep the cost down. It also has a smaller 8-inch screen, so if you like the form factor of, say, Apple's iPad mini, just a really tiny tablet that you can toss into your bag and take with you anywhere, this might be one worth checking out. And like the name says, it does come with the S Pen, which is one of the better pens out there in terms of drawing experience. The thing that worries me a little bit here is that it is a bit older. It's running on an older version of Android, version 9, and I do worry about how it will hold up performance-wise, since you can find this for about the same price as the S6 Lite. So if you're trying to decide between the two and you're not sure, I would definitely go with the S6 Lite. I just think that's a better value because we're talking about the same price. The main appeal here, like I said before, it's that screen size. If you really want something small in this kind of form factor, this is the only way to go, at least for now. Because like I said, this thing it's going on almost 2 years old, so I wouldn't be surprised if Samsung's going to release a smaller tablet that they do sometime next spring. So if that's the case, if you really want this form factor, it might be worth waiting a little bit to see if you can get something newer later on. So that's my roundup. To summarize, I think the choice is simple. I would go between two things. If you have the money to spend, get the Tab S7. If you don't, the Tab S6 Lite is still a phenomenal product. So what do you think? Let me know down below in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.